Hello, everyone. My name is Keely Denenberg. I'm Senior VP of Client Solutions here at Orange Grove Consulting. And today I am joined by Dr. Kelly Watson, Managing Partner at Orange Grove Consulting. We are going to talk about leadership competencies. What are they and why you might want them? So, Kelly, we definitely are proponents of leadership competencies for really every organization. And I would like for you to share with everyone why that is and why we think they're so important, what they can do for you if you're an HR leader or any kind of leader.
Yes, excellent. Great question. And a great place to start is, why are we doing this work? And really it's why are we documenting the competencies and why are we proponents that people be mindful about thinking this through? And the reason is that people don't really tend to have a very clear idea of what good leadership looks like. And specifically what it looks like for them in their organization, because there may be nuances that about what is required for the organization. And so what happens is people get confused between skills and behaviors of leadership and traits of leadership. And so we call that leadership emergence versus leadership competency, leadership behaviors. And so if we are not careful, what happens is, first of all, everybody has a different idea of what good leadership looks like. And secondly, folks are leaning in too much to traits and not into skills. Traits are not something that people can change. So traits are things like decisiveness, maybe, or aggressiveness or assertiveness, confidence, things like that, being an extrovert. And so some of those things show up as maybe being traits of what previous leaders have looked like, but they're not necessarily something that's going to predict whether somebody's actually good at leadership. And so we want to and they're not developable. So, for the most part, if you're not an extrovert, you're not going to become an extrovert. But we have lots of examples of introverts who are great leaders. So we really need to be mindful about what it is and conscious about choosing what is it that good leadership looks like in our organization. And we want to make sure that it's skill based, that it's competency based. And so it's fair that everyone has an opportunity to develop into a great leader.
Yeah, and I will add that the one of the things you can do with having defined competencies is you can structure all of your talent management systems around those competencies. Hiring, developing, promotion, all of that is based on something tangible versus something that's nebulous, not well defined, a feeling rather than behaviors and actions that you can measure.
Absolutely. And that is another big problem, right? Is that everyone comes to us in the middle of the process and says, develop our leaders, design a training program for us, or design a talent assessment process for us so that we know, whether or not somebody's doing a good job. Well, you can't start in the middle with a talent assessment process if you don't know what it is you think talent should be doing and what they look like. Don't come to us and ask us to develop a job description for a senior leader if you haven't sat back and thought about these types of things, these skills and behaviors that are going to be required. And so this really is a process of bringing back to the beginning in a conscious way. And, when you ask people who are the top leaders, in organizations or in the country even, you get a very subjective point of view on that. And so absolutely you need to kind of take it back to basics. What is it that you're looking for? What's going to move the needle in your organization? And that's the other thing is that, people have an opinion, people have things that they say they like, but the question is that attached to actual return on investment for your investors? And sometimes it's not the case. Sometimes these nice to haves don't have a very clear line to actual performance. So you definitely want to do a process that connects those dots so that you're focused on the right things. This is really about calibrating and focusing on the right things because what is measured is what gets done. And so if you can codify this and put in place what it is you expect people to do and how they're developing towards it, and then put your measures around it, align everything in the organization around that, then you're going to have a much more effective outcome for your organization, and you can connect those dots back to this is the type of leader that we're looking for. This is the type of talent all through the organization that we're looking for. So when you're, recruiting from day one, you know the types of behaviors and skills that, either this person has the potential to develop into or already has, and that's why you're going to recruit them to your organization.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you mentioned, kind of validating and figuring out what those competencies are. So we are going to save that for another short conversation. So thank you everyone for listening in. Please check our YouTube channel for the continued conversation about this and other topics. Take care. Bye.